Hello, everybody. Welcome to a very special, I guess, different.
Very different.
Aussies Around The Grounds. Now, we've only got the one camera today, so if you're wondering, we've got no juicer. No producer is no juicer, as
Yes.
Aiden Box would call you when you were in the producer alley, or Juicer's alley, I think it was.
Yes, Juice's Alley. That's what he means.
But here we are. It's been a few weeks since we've done Aussies Around The Grounds.
It has been, and that's a big
quite
reason
a few
why
lots has happened.
I want to do it.
I was going to say, quite a lot has happened. I'm kind of still a bit tired from watching Australia versus India in the Champions Trophy. We'll get to that in a bit.
I'm very excited. I think the main reason why we're doing this is just because I want to talk Champions Trophy, but we will get to that later.
Champions Trophy, some horse racing, some bowls has happened, some basketball has happened.
Big times in the NBL at the moment. Not even I know about it, despite not following basketball.
It is heating up, and one team has already got their way into the final.
Yep.
However, I think the biggest talking point over the last few weeks, and it's kind of, this is why we play for a different reason, and it's I know if you've been watching any of the Extra Time podcasts, the Crumps have discussed this, and they pretty much had a really good discussion over this, and it's the Marty Sheargold comments over Matildas, and more so women's sport in general. It's one of those things where I've had the discussions, and I honestly don't know if I was the co-host how I would have reacted in the moment. I probably would be shocked and just silent.
Yep.
However, you never know till it happens, I think, and it's the old standard you walk past is the standard you accept. Now, I'm kind of glad I wasn't put in that position because I didn't have to have myself tested. However, it's one of those things where it is not acceptable. I think a lot of the discussion and the support for Marty has been around free speech. And I think my point that I've come to, and this is not just over Marty Sheargold, it's over quite a few things, is freedom of speech is an American ideal.
It's an American thing. It's their first amendment to the Constitution. It's not an Australian thing. And even they
always
don't have complete freedom of speech.
Always gets misinterpreted. Now, I think freedom of speech does not escape freedom of consequence.
That's a big one. Yeah.
Everybody has to be accountable for their language and what they say. I think it's one of those things where people fall back to when they've said something wrong or offensive, and they're going, well, freedom of speech, I'm allowed it. It's like, no, freedom. It's like the freedom of the First Amendment right is like the government shall not impeach, like penalties, like it shall not be a law to inhibit speech.
Yep.
Or like the freedom to protest or stuff like that. Not going to go into the political matters. However, with Marty Sheargold, I could be a shock jock just like him and said a lot of stuff.
Yep.
I think the stuff that he said of he'd rather do than watch women's sport, okay, go on, do it, sort of thing. There's no clockwork orange torture here.
Yep.
But I feel like this is the thing of the shock jock value of, like, why say it? Like, in 2025, this is still a thing of having, like, the need to kind of be a big man and big note yourself of, oh, yeah, look at this.
Yeah.
Kind of. I don't even want to repeat what he said because I personally don't agree with. And I'm of the opinion that I don't know why people give people airtime to begin with. Like, I did not know who Marty Sheargold actually was until this, like, the grand final.
Yeah, I was vaguely familiar with him.
That grand final incident a couple of years ago where he was naked in a corporate box or something.
Yeah, something like
that's
that.
He's
been on the
first
front
time.
bar a couple of times. That's the most I've seen of him.
I don't watch the front bar that often, but it's like the only time that the first time I heard about Marty Sheargold, and it's like, oh, he's this big, like, cool, like, okay. But then he comes out with comments like this. Now, it's disappointing. I thought we were at a place where I don't know what just happened.
The vent has literally fallen out of the gap in the hole. Jada Stevenson has not done a good job. I can't believe I'm the only person who saw that because you're at the back. There is genuinely no one else in the room. Put that on social media, please. I can't believe what I just saw. Shall we stop the recording, or shall we? We're having to try and have this very sincere conversation about where we are as society, and that happens.
I'm just gonna,
Shall we take a break? Should we take a time out, or?
Okay, so sorry about that. We've just had a bit
we've
of
lost a vent.
Maintenance issue, and we've lost the vent, lost a bit of cooling. However, I think the Marty Sheargold thing, it's one of those things where us as a society have to actually understand that comments mean something nowadays.
Yep.
I could liken it to social media comments as well, and I think that the Crumbs did a good point of like really targeting people, calling them out. This is where accountability has to come into play. I don't care if you're for women's sport or against it, but make your content that you produce constructive.
Yep.
Saying it's like year 10 girls is not productive.
No,
it's not constructive. Saying that they need to train harder is. Saying they need to get a better game plan is. So I don't know if you're following me where I'm going. Basically, the point is, if you don't like it, cool. Actually explain why you don't like it. Do that in a constructive manner without having the need to make vile comments of what you'd rather do.
Yeah.
Now, I could say every sport should take a leaf out of the women's cricket pathway. How they develop, how the sport actually encourage, how it's grown. And we've just recently in February had January-February had a day-night test at the MCG. So
it's not surprising that the women's sports in the best positions are also the women's sports that've had the most time to develop.
The
So
more a sport is, I guess, supported and accepted.
Yep.
The more it's going to grow. The more a sport gets comments like this, the more it's going to get held back.
Yeah.
So I think moving on from the negative, and this is why we play was a negative this week, just because I wanted to kind of have that discussion that I feel that people need to be accountable for what they say.
100%.
And Triple M for a starter has always been that blokey type of radio station when it comes to the footy, and I think it needs to kind of change in that aspect as well. However, moving from the negative to the positive, and I'm going to keep it on the women in sport theme this week. It's kind of interesting where F1, and I think the quote was, this person's been driving around at 245 kilometres an hour, but doesn't have a driver's license. Doesn't even have their learners yet.
It's not every day when you can sit around going, I'm ahead of someone in life compared to this person.
She is one of the, great Australian up-and-comers, and there she is. And she's about to, I'm trying to think of a pun here, drive into the F1 scene or arrive into the F1 scene. I don't know if that was a good one.
No, probably not.
I'm sure you can come up with one better. But Lorenzo, talk us through this.
Yes, so I saw this yesterday or a couple of days ago. So F1, right on the lead up. So the Grand Prix is next weekend, I'm pretty sure. First race of the new F1 season. And
it is in Australia.
Yes. In Melbourne. So we're doing all right in the F1 scene at the moment. We've got a couple of Aussies on the grid. And Joanne Cinconti is going to be part of the F1 Drivers Academy, I'm pretty sure. You're right. She's only just become eligible to get her learner's plate in this country. But she's been too busy driving much faster pieces of material. Yep. So here's the quote. It's been funny that I have been going over 245 kilometers an hour since I was 15, and I'm still waiting for my L's. It's a unique situation that not a lot of people get to do in life, be this good at something before you're usually you're not even at the baby step at this point of actually driving, the normal cars that the rest of us do to get around. But she's going to be part of that F1 Academy. I think she's one of 3 new drivers in the new lineup for 2025. Your Female Academy is a 7-round series of 14 races following the Formula 1 circuit and racing on the same weekends and tracks as the F1. It's always good when, particularly in motorsport, they do very well of having these sort of secondary races. We see it at supercars all the time where they got the Super 2, the Super Utes going around the same track, same weekend. Provide entertainment, obviously, for those at the venue.
You give value for money.
More racing, and also providing a chance to showcase the next generation and give them opportunities to race on tracks that they will hopefully be racing in the top tier few years later.
It's exciting to see, and as I said, I actually came across this thing, and I'm like, oh, that's definitely of note. I've got to remember that, and I'm glad you did, because when we were talking about the weekly wonders in the production meeting, it was, there's that woman in F1, and you knew exactly what I was talking about. So that's an amazing thing, and I think this is set to celebrate women in sport.
100%.
It's one of those things where let's highlight them, let's celebrate them, let's, when needed, give them the feedback and
constructive feedback.
But let's celebrate them, and I don't want to hear anything about I'm kind of stumped because I thought of something, and I'm like, there's gonna be these comments made.
Yep.
About her being a woman and a driver, and it really hurts to think about that. As I was just going with the Marty Sheargold things, I hope and pray that people can look past that factor.
Yep.
Especially with a female F1 academy, as you said.
Yep.
I think it's a great thing, and it needs to happen to produce the best drivers. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to be better, but they're at least being given the same opportunities as men.
Yep.
Where it's one of those things where F1 is a male-dominated sport, and we have to accept that. I'm not an F1 fan, so I'm not an expert.
Yeah.
However, I think it is it's great for the sport to actually invest in diversity and the female athlete pathway to then encourage, hey, a little girl going to a race can actually see this person or people and
all good.
Sorry, just
you got someone calling you now. Nothing's going right for us at the moment. I will say the first race of the F1 Academy is on March 21 in Shanghai as part of the Chinese Grand Prix weekend.
Okay, so what was I saying? We're going to cut.
Yep.
And so I think it's just had a thing, but I was about to say I think it's important for little girls, just like in AFLW, little girls can see themselves going down this pathway. I think it's important that there are pathways in place, so then it's not just, there's one or two potentials. You've actually got people can see themselves as a viable career option. And, yeah, it's exciting to see. I'm excited for the future of this. And once again, it's celebrating and moving on from the Marty Sheargold saga. Let's focus on the Joanna celebrations.
And if I may plug the 9 Dial podcast, we're going to spend an extensive amount of time, like we do almost every week on that show, on Bo Greets, the best women's player, who had a fantastic weekend at the UK Open. So we'll be doing more of that in the podcast that will be recorded after this.
And obviously, if you want more women's sport, you can do that, or you can check out the Crumbs.
Yes.
I'm not forgetting the Crumbs podcast with Simone
in the darts
and
world.
Caro, Wigan Caro. And Padge nowadays, but I just thought let's plug some of those podcasts.
Just listen to everything we have here. Read the website.
Make sure you stay tuned, because I feel like Extra Time is one of those, especially with who we've got, and it's kind of this little segue and kind of tangent we're going to go on.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to actually understand like who we've got in the Extra Time crew, and like we've got one of Australia's best female baseballers in Simone Wern, and that can't be an understatement. So it's very much a champion of women's sport.
100%.
Right there. So when she speaks about this topic that she's very passionate about, people listen. And I think she would be very excited to see the pathways that F1 are starting to give. I don't know how long this is actually being on for, so it's good to see an Australian female go down that avenue. But talking about Australians and getting back on that topic now, and this is, I don't know how and I don't know why, but I feel like I'm going to actually start with my kind of volcano.
Oh, this is a volcano this week.
But
I've got a few.
I just don't want tournaments. I don't understand tournaments that give an advantage.
Yeah.
Based on a location, and I was looking it up. It's basically the equivalent of playing a whole tournament, and there we go. It's the Champions Trophy.
The whole reason why we're here, because I just want to talk about this for about 20 minutes. And I'll make sure I won't, but
so
I could.
I'm not going to... Australia lost to India.
We lost to India.
In the semi-final. It was a decent game.
Yeah.
However,
it was the closest India been pushed all tournament.
I'm not going to make it an excuse, but...
Well, I am.
How much of a Mickey Mouse tournament is this?
Well...
If one team is given the luxury of playing at the MCG... And then everybody else has to play at Optus Stadium. Now,
well, I think what this does is shows how much we need to be grateful for those Western Australian teams who fly across the length of a continent every second week, so we get 5 games here in Melbourne or in Victoria.
Yeah, but I agree, but
I'm just saying,
India playing all their games in Dubai because of the Pakistan stuff. The tournament should have either been moved or India should have been excluded.
Well,
we cannot be given allowances to teams because of you do that, you know who has the power in cricket. I mean, it's not really a secret.
It's not a secret at this point.
I would have moved the tournament entirely.
Yeah, I would have just
so that it's all in one place and it is fair.
Well,
having the India, keep going.
You'll finish.
Having the tournament play all in one place for India. So they get acclimatized, they get accustomed to the ground, the pitch. They don't have to move. They can stay in the same hotel. Well, and then Australia playing in Pakistan.
Yep.
Unsure on who they're playing.
Both they and South Africa
have to fly
there. Well, at least they got to play some golf in Dubai. I think Glenn Maxwell was teeing off at like 7 a.m.
But they get to play. They get to play. They have to play in Pakistan and then fly to Dubai. So once again, Melbourne to Perth kind of
trip
distance.
And South Africa have got to flow.
Not knowing if you're going to play there. And then obviously South Africa fly back. But I think Australia did a great effort. Considering, and
we did all right in this tournament.
Also considering, and I think you're going to touch on it, the fact that we only completed one game.
Yes.
So we could have... This is where this tournament is more Mickey Mouse.
I love this tournament so
there
much.
There has to be a count of... Hold on. A team is rained out twice, finishes second, against a team that's only been rained out once. So it's like, hold on. What if Australia had have won one of the games or won both of them? Like, this is where it's an unfair and...
Okay, let me count this. Yes.
Favoured to India. So congratulations, India, on reaching the final. And if you do win it, congratulations. However, I don't want to see this happen ever again.
Yeah, this has been a bit of a disaster, hasn't it? So
if it does, it's, once again... I mean, if it's the Champions Trophy, it happens to just get rid of it at this stage.
Well, okay, so Australia's last... I probably should go back to look at 2013 as well, but the last time this tournament was held in 2017, Australia's last 6 group stage matches, 4 of them have not even been a result because rain has either washed it completely away...
Where was that?
Or has been played. So the most recent tournament, 2017, was in England. Not really because they wanted it, just because no one else really wanted it. So this has been a bit of a disaster of a tournament. I just want to go...
Okay, so what I would do... Champions Trophy. What I would do is I would actually move this Champions Trophy to the second tier. Make it the second tier World Cup. Bang.
Perhaps.
And then you have the team that wins it or the team that 2 teams that make the final progress to the... If you're going to keep it with the top teams, have it like, where do you host it? Like, why not have it in the West Indies, Sri Lanka...
Yeah, so
Pakistan, I'm not going to say because of if India are going to refuse to play there, then you can't hold it there.
yeah, well.
But have it in like.
So you're jumping around a bit on my notes here. So
I know. I read your notes and I agree with a lot of them, and they were going to be my talking points as well on this. And I think it's just one of those things where I'm pissed off that a
well, the reason why
sporting body such as the ICC will bow down to the BCCI so much,
yeah, well,
but they won't move the tournament. They will just give India a bigger advantage.
Well,
I don't understand that.
well, it was the 6. Well, they had a vote on it. All the participation nation had a vote on what to do, and the 6. So India obviously voted for a change. Pakistan obviously voted to keep it as it was initially planned, and the 6 other boards all voted with India. So when India inevitably win this tournament, it's not going to be. Yes, India will have won all their
what
matches,
you're telling
but
me,
it's really the other boards that won the tournament for India. If this makes sense,
So
because they could have voted with Pakistan to keep the entire tournament in that particular country, and this is what should have happened.
but hold on, were the 6 boarding, were they saying change it entirely?
No, they were saying to use the format that we have now, where India don't have to go to Pakistan. So
Okay.
this is what should have happened, right? India says the ICC, we don't want to go to Pakistan. The ICC go to the host nation, Pakistan, and say, all right, you've got basically 2 options here. We know this India-Pakistan match is important. If you want India to still be part of this tournament, they're obviously not going to come. So you get the choice. You can either play every match in Pakistan, and India won't be there, and we'll find Sri Lanka would have been next in line because it was based off the standings off the previous World Cup, and Sri Lanka finished 9th. And for the record, if they weren't able to show up, it would actually have been the Netherlands who would have gone through next. So you can either have that, or you can have this hybrid format. And as the host nation, it's fair that they get the final say. And if they say, as they said, we want this tournament preferably all in Pakistan, then they should have said, no, India, you either come over or we replace you with another team. Now, this has happened other times in bunch of other tournaments right through ICC event history, and it's always been that the team that refuses to play, their opposition gets awarded the win. It's happened at World Cups before. I think 1996 when it was held in the subcontinent. I believe 2003 as well.
It just has to
when it was
do
in Africa.
better is basically cricket.
But of course they're not going to do that because the entire reason this tournament exists is so India and Pakistan can play each other. Because they don't play each other bilaterally. So we've got...
So the India-Pakistan game was played in Dubai.
It was played in Dubai, yeah. Yeah, it was.
Okay, so
that's the other thing they could have done. Pakistan could have gone, okay, we can have India play Dubai, but just not in our group. We play 3 matches in Pakistan.
Well,
that would have worked as well.
However, if it's the ICC get all the takings from this tournament, not Pakistan, right?
No, I think Pakistan still get quite a bit of money from this.
Well, I think that's the only positive.
Yeah,
now.
which is the main reason why they stuck with it. But I mean, this tournament, a question does have to be asked of why indeed are we playing it? It's a tournament that isn't the World Cup when we have so many World Cups. It's the tournament had all the same teams as the World Cup. They keep this. We're on like the third time that this tournament has been cancelled and then just brought back at random intervals.
This is why I said it should be a second tier competition.
I never thought of that idea, but it wouldn't be a bad one.
Like,
given they are the only nations that are actually focusing on 50 over cricket right now.
Yeah, it's like the Champions Trophy. It's like make it a second tier competition. Make it just like you can host it in Pakistan, India, South Africa, West Indies, New Zealand, Australia, like England, a prominent cricketing country.
Yep.
But have it so it's
and then
all the second tier nations, and you put it forward that this is a World Cup qualifying tournament. So this is like make it the top 2 teams then progress to the next World Cup.
Yep.
And then you go there, bang.
Yeah, that could work. I mean, this tournament, when it first came in 1998 as the Wills International Cup, because everything used to be sponsored by cigarettes, it was billed as a mini World Cup. It was billed as growing the game. That's why the first 2 editions were held in Bangladesh and Kenya, even though weirdly Bangladesh didn't get to play at that 1998 tournament. Yeah, so this tournament has had all sorts of weird things. It's the only time we've seen a trophy be split in 2002 when they played 110 overs of cricket and didn't get a result. We've seen Australia win it twice despite never really caring about it. We've seen rain-affected matches ruin a lot of these. I think if we are going to keep it as like a top tier sort of thing. I'm thinking more 2 groups of 5 rather than 2 groups of 4. So not only do you get one extra group game, hopefully rain doesn't affect too much of this, because all Australia's last couple Champions Trophy campaigns has been entirely dictated by the weather, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, well, talking from one trophy that nobody could really care about to a cup that I think a lot of people... It's been interesting, this history of this cup, and
Yes.
I'm glad to see it have a new name. The Dean Jones Cup. South Australia defeated Victoria at Adelaide Oval. I don't really have any of the stats. I just wanted to touch on this while we move on from cricket, and we've had that heated discussion. Yeah, it's disappointing. However, we move on.
Yes, I just want to say last thing on the cricket is I did want to say that we've got too many T20 World Cups at the moment, and the ODI format's a bit backwards. What I would like to see going forward is we know we've got the cricket's finally getting into the Olympics as T20. I think the ideal format for me would be you got Olympics, then a 50 over Champions Trophy, then T20 World Cup, then the 50 over World Cup. So you're alternating there, T20 ODI, T20 ODI, and you can do a similar thing in the women's.
Yep.
So whether that 50 over Champions Trophy is a is for the first tiers or for the second tier nation. Second tier nation might actually, I never thought of that before you stitched it, but the more I'm thinking about it, the more I think that could work. Particularly if it is a genuine qualification tournament for the next
as I said,
World Cup.
the only team that I think really cares about this is India now.
Well, India now at the moment. Not many nations have cared about it. West Indies in 2004.
The fact it was on
'cause
Amazon Prime here is another thing that Australians...
But that's an ICC
really
thing,
know.
not so much an Australian broadcaster thing. It is going to get weird when we get to... Well, the 2028 T20 World Cup is going to be in this country. We'll see if we're allowed to have any of it on free-to-air television. I doubt it, but we'll see.
Yeah,
by the way, very last thing on the Champions Trophy. Funnily enough, India have technically won this tournament twice, but they've never actually won a 50 over final in the Champions Trophy. They had that weird co-champions with Sri Lanka in 2002 because the final got washed out, and in 2013 the match was reduced to a 20 over side match. So if it's a full 50 over allotted match for the final in Dubai, which it should be because it's Dubai, it doesn't rain, it would be uncharted territories for the Indian team to actually win a 50 over Champions Trophy final, despite the fact they've won this tournament twice, or 1.5 if you want to be pedantic.
So from one finals to another.
Yes.
The NBL. The NBL finals, the first Game 3 took place last night. The second one takes place tonight, Wednesday, as we're talking about this.
Yep.
Melbourne United escaped a wildcat surge.
Yep.
It was a great game. I didn't watch most of it, but I'm sure Aidan Box and Dylan Padge did, who are United fans. Now, my Southeast Melbourne Phoenix play Illawarra tonight, and this is the one I want because I want it to be Melbourne United versus Southeast Melbourne
would
Phoenix.
This be amazing?
Now, I think next
WhatsApp
week,
group would be going off.
Next week, if it is, I'm going to put it out there now. I'm going to invite Aidan Box. I'm going to invite Dylan Padge to sit over there. I'm going to invite Lorenzo to come over here and be on the Southeast Melbourne side.
Okay, sure. Why not?
And we will have a NBL finals special of Aussies Around the Ground. Melbourne United versus Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, if that is the case. Otherwise, it'll be United versus Hawks, which I think is the most likely case.
It is most
likely,
but never say never.
I can dream, and if it is, don't worry, this side will be decked out in green. Now, from one Hawks to another.
Yes,
the Hawks, I believe, and I can tell you now they did. Now, we're talking about Bowls
Premier League.
So the Hawks took it out. Now, I spoke to you beforehand, and I'm giving you the challenge. So the reason why I'm only saying the Hawks is I'm going to list all the nicknames. So it's a bit of extra time trivia coming back.
Yes, we will bring that back at some point. I've got a couple of ideas.
So I'm going to list off names.
I'm going to write them down here. Hawks is one, yep.
And I'm going to tell you where they're... I'm going to give you the nicknames.
I'm going to work out where they're from.
And I want you to work out where they're from.
That's what we agreed to before we started.
I'll give you one by one.
Yep.
You can have a guess, but then you can change. So you can write them down and kind of go through them.
Okay.
So I'll give you the Hawks to start off with, right?
Yep.
So just have it... I'll give you... Just say where you think they're from, and at the end I'll tell you the cities in alphabetical order.
Are these all Are all these cities capital cities, or are they sort of wild, wacky?
There some of them are wild and wacky.
Okay.
I'd go with 2 are definitely out there,
Alrighty.
but the rest are relatively well known.
Alrighty. I'll just jot down Sydney for that first one, and we'll.
Okay, so next one are the pirates.
Ooh. Ooh, a couple different states jumped to mind straight away. I'll go Perth for that one, and I'm not logging any of these in. I'll let you know
Next
what
one
I'm
are
logging
the Saints.
Ooh, Saints. Melbourne.
Next one are the Lions.
Oh, do they dare to just double up on the Brisbane one, or do they go somewhere else? I'll put Adelaide down for that one. I don't know why I'm doing these.
The Tridents.
Tridents. Ooh. Tridents. Wow. I've had a few though. Like, I'll just put down Newcastle now for that one. I don't know why I'm doing it like
Pioneers.
Oh, the Pioneers. That's a good name. I don't think I've got a single one right here. Let's go Hobart. Oh, we need to have there'll be definitely a Tassie team in here somewhere. The Extreme. Ooh. Have they spelt that one with an E or an X at the start?
It's an E.
Oh, they have started with an E. Yeah. Okay. Because when I first mentioned I imagined a logo with a big X.
I think it is. I think the logo, funnily enough, is that.
It is pretty much that. Yeah. Not exactly.
No. So the logo is a big X, but it is spelled
with an E as a start. Yep.
And then it's got Extreme.
Yeah.
It's got I was about to say the city.
Yeah. Let's go Geelong. Why not? I've got a couple of out there ones there.
Okay, I've got the Jets.
Oh, the Jets. Are a few of these sort of how many have we got here so far? That's the 8th one. There are a few double ups in here.
There will be a few double ups.
Yeah, I was thinking. I was going to go Melbourne for that one as well. But that one's going to be close to an airport, I reckon, that sort of thing. Because that's how the New York Jets got their name, because they were next to, I think, Shea Airport, where their stadium was, their first one.
Steamers.
Ooh. All right, that's got to... Logically, that's got to be... Well, that could be any Australian city. One by a sea. One by... have a port of entry. That one might be Melbourne as well here. I'll move some of these around. Suns. Well, the logical one is obviously that one might be. That's going to be Queensland, surely. Maybe can I go? Oh, let's go Sunshine Coast. Why not? Sunshine Coast Suns. That works.
And Pulse.
Oh wow.
I believe that is there's one more after.
Yeah, that's the 11th. I'll just put down Sydney now for that one because I haven't doubled up on that. The what?
Ospreys.
How do you spell that?
Ospreys. It's a bird.
All right. So wherever that bird is located, where does that sound like it's from? Queensland can have some weird stuff. So I haven't thrown the Gold Coast in there yet. So let's do that one.
Okay. So now alphabetical order.
I'm miles off.
So I'm gonna play the reverse. So I'm gonna say Adelaide.
Yep.
In alphabetical order, and you're going to tell me which one you actually.
I wrote down lines for Adelaide, but I'm not confident on any of these really.
So it's Adelaide Pioneers.
Ah, there you go. Okay, that makes a bit of sense. Go on.
The next one alphabetical is Geelong.
I put the Extreme down for that one.
Do you want to change?
Maybe. As long as they didn't put the Hawks
in the production meeting, I did give him a clue with Geelong.
Did you? I wasn't paying attention.
I said that's your team.
There's no cats here.
So it was the Geelong Jets.
Ah, there you go.
Gold Coast.
I've had that Ospreys thing that I just didn't know what that even is. I'm gonna look that up now. But go on. What were the
Gold Coast were the Hawks.
Ah, okay. Yep. No, that works.
So Melbourne has 2 teams.
Yep.
What did you put down?
I put down the Jets, which we know are wrong, and the Saints. I put the Steamers there again, but it can't be there.
You want to change it up?
Well, we know the Lions are wrong, so I've got Saints and Steamers then.
That's Pulse and Extreme.
Ah, there we go. I had Geelong for Extreme, so I was in the right.
Yeah.
I was in the right state.
Now Moama.
Oh, I did think of them. I was literally in Moama like a week ago. All right. sure. What are they?
They're the Steamers.
Ah, there you go. So, I mean, Moama's New South Wales, but I mean, it's Echuca and Moama. They're basically the same
Now,
side as.
Moreton Bay.
Oh, hello. Yeah, I didn't even think of them.
Now,
They've gotta
what do you
be
think would they would be?
Pirates, maybe?
Yeah,
Or
they're Moreton Bay Pirates.
Moreton
is
Bay
correct.
Pirates. I got that one right.
Perth.
I'm enjoying this. Perth. I did have Pirates for them. I should have written down. I'm not even 100% sure which one's left. Have we had the Pioneers yet? Perth Pioneers rolls off the tongue.
Adelaide Pioneers was that one. No, it's the Perth Suns.
Perth Suns. I was going to say maybe the Suns.
Now we come to the two Sydney teams.
There we go.
Lions and the Saints.
Lions and the Saints. There
And
you go. I
then
didn't have either of
We've
them.
got Tasmania.
Which one did I put? I put one down for home. I put Pioneers down for home. I don't even know what's left.
So they're the Tridents.
They're the Tridents, yeah.
And it leaves Tweed as the Tweed Ospreys. Tweed Heads is where it comes from.
All right, fair enough.
Very big bowling area.
I'm sure.
So that
Yeah,
is a little bit
there's
of
some weird
extra time trivia.
There's some weird and wacky names in there, I think. Once you
So
told me
the
there was a
Adelaide
Moreton
Pioneers,
Bay.
Geelong Jets, Gold Coast Hawks, Melbourne Extreme, Melbourne Pulse, Moama Steamers, Moreton Bay Pirates, Perth Suns, Sydney Lions, Sydney Saints, Tasmania
Sydney
Tridents,
Saints,
and the Tweed Ospreys.
There's some
The
good.
Saints
There's
and
some,
the Jets
some good names
came
in there.
in the latest one.
Yeah.
So they expanded to 12. There were some defunct teams.
I'll go on.
I know Melbourne Roys.
These are going to have the best names, I reckon.
One
the
of them,
defunct
the New
ones.
Zealand Blackjacks.
Yep.
Are two of them that I can think of straight away. But I believe bowling clubs take ownership. So the Melbourne Pulse is kind of a Dandenong club, and Melbourne Extreme Sunbury.
Yep.
The Melbourne Roys was, have a guess,
Fitzroy.
Fitzroy Victoria, correct?
Yep, that region, yep.
And the New Zealand Blackjacks were obviously
Had an
just a
entire
New
country
Zealand-
to themselves.
a New Zealand-based team. I don't have the others in front of me, but there were, I think, a few more. I think there might have been Helensvale at one stage were the Gold Coast team, but there's a lot to it, and I just thought, why not have a bit of extra time trivia involved? Now, moving from a bit of extra time trivia and bowls to a bit of something else that's
Yes.
run on grass or played on grass in horse racing.
In horse
Now,
racing.
what's been going on?
There's been a bit going on. This is Mr. Brightside and Craig Williams. Such a fantastic combination. They had a win in the Futurity, which is sort of my favourite race, just the race I most wanted to talk about recently that's happened. So this was a couple of weeks ago. It was that weekend when I was in Moama, funnily enough, so I didn't watch it live. Started a short price favourite, Mr. Brightside, and won the race, even though Tom Kitten, the Godolphin horse, had no luck in the run, only just got out and past the 200 and lost by a nose. He was flying home, as was I Wish I Win similarly, but unfortunately not to be, and Mr. Brightside just keeps racking up. He's one of these competitors you see in all sports that sort of go under the radar
say,
a
he's
little
always
bit.
one of the horses
But he's
where if
always
you
the
see
ones
him
in these
running, you
segments.
have to kind of put a bit of...
Yeah.
Like, even if you don't have money, you've got an interest in watching. I
Yes.
think that's the thing I've got with Mr. Brightside. It's sometimes he's a bit too short to kind of justify
Yes.
putting money on.
He
Because
was odds on in this race.
But yeah, Craig Williams rides Mr. Brightside perfectly.
Yes.
So
That horse stock combination is a fantastic one. Later that same day, one of the great days that is always Blue Diamond Stakes Day, Devil Knight won the feature Group 1 for the 3-year-olds, and in a favourite race of mine, as it always, the Oakley Plate. Craig Williams was aboard. She's bulletproof, and she did everything but win, but Jimmy Starr flew down on the outside, and Kieran Marr picked up another winner. On the most recent weekend, they were at Flemington for a good meeting, and Ferroce was the winner of the Australian Guineas. Collingwood coach Craig McRae is apparently part of that ownership
you
group.
saw that vision,
So
yeah.
I saw that vision because literally, as always in racing, they just cut instead of seeing the actual horse and jockey, they cut to all the excited people jumping up and down.
Well,
in the
they're the
grandstand.
ones that put
and
the
he
money
was
in,
there.
so obviously they
Yep.
have to do that.
Up in Sydney, Via Sistina continues her good run since coming down to Australia last year. The Cox Plate winner was a winner in a very competitive competitive race, nosing out Fangirl, and in a tight finish, I want to see, do they have the fields up for this weekend's racing in at Flemington? They probably. Oh no, they do. That's exciting. So Wednesday's always the day when they release fields, so 3 days early. It is All-Star Mile Day. When is that race? That's Stray Cup Prelude. We don't want that. Here's the All-Star Mile. Mr. Brightside is the top weight, unsurprisingly. Tom Kitten, Light Industrial Man. I might put this closer to me so I can actually read this properly. Another Wheel, Flying Trapeze, Rise at Dawn, and a Tissue. Only a 7-horse field for the whatever $4 million feature that is now a Group 1. So I believe that is the first time that's been run officially as a Group 1. Everest had that similar thing happened last year. I do want to touch on, it's also a big weekend in New Zealand. They've got a couple of races. I was talking to Dad last night. They've got a brand new race called the Kiwi. And the moment Dad said that, I immediately said, that sounds like a slot race. It is a slot race. And they had a little press release talking about how a great innovative idea it is, how it's going to bring young people to the races. They've been doing that slot race now around the world for like the last 10 years. Pegasus, the Everest is obviously the big one. They've got the Quokka out in WA as well. So these sort of, it's such an innovative idea. It's such a genius thing that we're doing here.
It's the one that they have to always have like a name for it.
They have to have the most weird something, and it's always a bit of a quirky name. So that's like a $3.5 million slot race over in New Zealand. The Kiwi, innovative idea that we've been doing for 8 years. It's like whenever the AFL does something, exciting and brand new. The NRL usually has been doing it for 5 years.
When the AFL announced they're going to Vegas.
One day we'll have a.
I mean that's basically what Gather Round is, isn't it? It's just
Gather Round was Magic Round, and I believe the NRL actually copied that from English rugby. I believe they were the first ones to do that sort of. They had a different name for it. It might have been Magic Weekend. They had their own similar version that they've been doing for some time. Yeah.
However,
so that's where we're at racing. So
and that's where we are
this weekend, and that's it.
I was about to say that's where we are with Aussies Around the Ground this week. It's been an eventful episode as I look just behind me, and that will...
we'll need to work out what to do with that.
No doubt have to be dealt with, but we'll get some stuff sorted out there. But until then, and until next week, hopefully we are looking forward to the NBL finals between Melbourne United and South East Melbourne. However, it might be Melbourne United and
Feed's got to win first. What's it they got to win first?
It'll be Melbourne United versus someone. And until then, we will see you next week.